talk about LNG a bit more. What's going on in the global energy supply where there is great movement, and how a potential Russian invasion of Ukraine could change the scene even more? With me to answer that question is Jamison Cocklin. He's Senior Editor, LNG at Natural Gas Intelligence. Jamison, it's very good to see you. Thank you. Welcome to the program. We know what LNG is. You study it all the time. We're a business program. We know. But I'm not entirely sure that everybody watching us will know. Can you just tell it, what is LNG? I mean, clearly gas that's turned into a liquid, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's natural gas. It comes out of the ground and it's shipped via pipeline to a liquefaction plant, and it's chilled to negative 260 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's liquefied, and it's put on a vessel and moved from port to port around the world.
And it's a relatively new invention. I think the first ship with it on board sailed in the 1960s, and I believe the Qataris are very big into this. This is one of their major exports, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The Qataris, the U.S. has gotten into the game more here in recent years. The Russians and the Australians as well. And the market, has really evolved over the last 2 decades. It used to be a very staid market with vessels moving from point to point. But as demand has grown for the fuel across the world, more buyers and sellers have gotten involved. That's created, a lot more liquidity in natural gas benchmarks, a lot more trading, and a lot more volatility too. So when we see things like what's going on in Russia and Ukraine right now, that really can bump up the prices all that much more.
So where is this seaborne liquid natural gas fuel critical then? I'm told Japan, Republic of Korea, China, where else?
Yeah, absolutely. Typically, Asia is the market of choice for flexible cargoes, as it fetches higher prices there. But Europe is also heavily dependent on liquefied natural gas. It relies heavily, on not only LNG but pipeline imports from Russia, given the fact that domestic production in Europe has declined over there. So Europe is another major market for liquefied natural gas.
And is it crucial to the basic monthly needs of families in those countries? Does it come down to that level?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's primarily used to generate electricity and heat homes. So you're talking about heat. You're talking about cooking. It's an absolutely essential fuel. I mean, especially as many of the economies across the world continue to transition to alternative energy supplies like wind and solar energy.
Now, my understanding is that what has happened in Ukraine up to just this point has led to a pretty seismic shift in the way people who buy these commodities are looking in the future about where to buy them and exactly what to buy. Can you speak to that in relation to LNG?
Well, I think that Europe depends heavily, as I said, on Russian natural gas imports. Depending on who you ask, a third of the supplies that Europe consumes come from Russia. And this tension between Russia and Ukraine has really laid bare the reliance that Europe has on pipeline imports from Russia. So yes, in recent weeks, we've seen a lot of different, we've seen a lot of conversation about, how natural gas is traded, who's supplying it, and where. And of course, in the process, during these tensions, the U.S. has went out into the market to see, if Russia does in fact invade Ukraine, can we secure additional supplies from the Qataris? Can we ourselves in the United States send more LNG to Europe? So yeah, this is definitely something that's making people think, long and hard about, where Europe's natural gas is coming from.
So LNG is more important than if Russia does invade Ukraine in any way, or if this situation rumbles on. That's got to have lifted the share price. I mean, what is the advice for investors?
Well, I think that right now there's no doubt that the macro environment is a good thing for energy stocks, right? It's not just LNG, it's oil, it's gas, high commodity prices. You've got strong demand. That's translated to strong financial performance. We've seen strong cash flows, strong revenues, strong profits. at oil, gas, and LNG companies. And some of that is going to go back to shareholders, and I think that the investment community is taking note of that. For LNG, I think that it has a longer and stronger growth runway because LNG is seen playing a big role, in the energy transition in terms of displacing coal in places like Asia that are burning more of it right now. So it's a good thing right now for energy stocks for sure.
Well, it's a very interesting subject, isn't it? I would wager that most people in the world haven't really heard of LNG. That would be my bet. It's something we talk about on the program, but I think it's very interesting to hear all of that, and thank you for explaining it. We appreciate it. Thanks very much.